Hello everyone, welcome back to the Messy Cook. I have decided to do a new recipe for my shortbread cookies that I did last year. And the reason for doing that is because when I looked back at the video, I actually thought it was a slightly different recipe that I did. I found out it wasn't. It's the same recipe, but I missed a whole portion of the taping somehow last year. So I'm going to repost this, and this way you'll see the recipe complete all the way through. The recipe, the original recipe calls for 1/2 cup of cornstarch, 1/2 cup of icing sugar, 1 cup of flour, and 3/4 of a cup of butter. And you have to soften that to room temperature. So I made sure this one is definitely softened today, not melted, but softened well. You're just going to mix, literally throw together, mix it all together, and you're going to roll it into balls. I'm going to use the same scoop that I used for my chocolate crinkle cookies yesterday, and I want to see how they work out. So I'm actually going to do a whole pound of butter. So I worked out the calculations. So we really like these cookies here in our house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix in 1 pound of butter, 4 sticks, 2 cups, 1 pound, whatever way you want to look at it. You can use unsalted if you want. I use salted butter because whenever I do anything sweet, I usually either add a pinch of salt to it to help bring the sweetness out. I know it sounds odd, but it actually works. So I just use salted butter instead. So if you're going to do the whole pound and you want a lot of cookies, you're going to add in 1 pound of butter, 1 1/3 cup of cornstarch, 1 1/3 cup of icing sugar, and 2 3/4 cups of flour. We're going to just mix this all together. I'm using my KitchenAid. I'm just going to use my whipping attachment here. You can use a paddle if you like as well. So I'm going to just get these measured out, and we're going to get ready and start adding them in. Okay, so for icing, I'm just using a 1/3 cup measure. It'll be a nice easy way. So we're going to use 1 1/3, which means we're going to use 4 1/3 cup measures. I'm not sifting it. You can if you want, but we're going to mix this really, really well. And by mixing it really well, it'll get any lumps out if you do have any lumps in your icing sugar. So there we go, 1 1/3. So I'm just going to pop that all in, turn this down and lock it. I'm just going to turn it on low, and we're just going to get that a little bit incorporated while I get the cornstarch ready to go. Set that over there, get myself all dusted off. So again, 1 1/3 cup of cornstarch. The cornstarch seems like kind of an odd thing to add in, but it helps make the cookie really tender. And I sped this up a little bit because the butter was sticking in the middle of the whip attachment. So as you can see here, I'll bring the camera down. You want to get that all incorporated really well. So what I'm going to do is turn this off. I'm going to make sure I scrape my edges down. We always want to do that at least once between each ingredient we're adding in there. So we're going to do that. I'll set this aside, lock her up, and just turn it back on a little bit higher. That way we can get this little bits of powder. They're right near the bottom. I'm not going to stick anything in. Right near the bottom there's a little bit. So that seems pretty incorporated. So I'm going to pause, and we're going to add the cornstarch next. Okay, so I have measured out 1 1/3 cup of cornstarch. Same thing, you don't have to sift it. You can if you want. I don't bother. I'm lazy, and it's just easier not having to bother doing it. I'm going to just scrape this butter off here. So I get my arm out of the way. Into the bowl. Scrape on the edge. And we want to make sure we get that all in there. And close her up. And we're going to get it mixing again. Just on low. Now mine bounces all over. I need a shield, but I don't have that. You can also put a table around. Or not a table, a towel, I suspect. Maybe I'll do that because this is actually very powdery all over, and I'm a messy cook, but I also don't want to be that messy. So turn that on low. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit higher here. There we go. Let me probably go back to it. Now the worst of that's mixed in now, so I can speed it back up a little bit. Let me scrape it first. So I'll scrape this down. Unlock. I'm going to unlock it to scrape it. Oops. Yeah, messy, messy. Oh my gosh. Oh well, that's okay. I'm going to scrape to the bottom. I want to make sure anything on the bottom is going to get mixed well in, because sometimes once you add each powdered ingredient in, what'll happen is some of that will stick at the bottom of it. It's like a little divot there, so you just want to make sure that's in there. So, all right, That's in, close. I'm gonna let that whip for half a minute, and I'm gonna measure out the flour next. Okay, so 2 3/4 cups of flour. I'm gonna add 1 cup at a time. 1 cup there. Turn it on low. I don't want it puffing all over the place like the cornstarch did. And get that other scoop measured out there. As long as this is measured in a little bit, I can turn up a bit now that some of it's stuck to the sides. I don't want to whip this. Like, I don't want to let this go for 10 minutes and make whipped shortbread. I've done that and it's delicious, but unfortunately with that, it's you pick it up and it just almost crumbles. It tastes delicious, but there's no fun when you can pick a cookie up and then literally it just crumbles to bits, so that's no good. So I've added another cup, and I'm going to do 3/4 of a cup, so I'm going to just eyeball this. That looks like about 3/4 of a cup there. So that'll be my next addition. So I'm just going to continue adding the flour to the end and let it mix for about 1 minute, 30 seconds to a minute once, just to get everything incorporated. I'll show you at that point what we're looking for. Okay, so I'm just about mixed here. I just want to show you when you get close to being done, what's going to happen is, of course, everything's going to stick in the whisk. So I want to scrape that down. The middle here, let me bring you down here. The middle here is kind of, you'll see some crumbly bits in here. And what we want to do is, sometimes the butter, the more wet part of the dough just sticks to the sides. So what I like to do is just make sure you scrape really, really well a couple times when we're getting near the end. Scraping everything out of this whisk, which I will lift up because I think you have the idea here. So you're going to scrape the rest of that whisk off. It's pushed down on me. And we're going to give it one last mix. And it may still look a little crumbly when we're done, but if you squish it together with your hands, and I'll show you, it will all come together, and that's what we're looking for. So let me just give this one last little one for about 10 or 20 seconds. Do a little wipe here. I've made a mess. That's okay though. And I want to speed it at the end so I can get some of this stuff on the inside to just come out of the mixer blade, or the whipping blade, I guess. Whisk blade, I don't know what you call it. Anyhow, the worst of it's come out. Well, I'm going to do a little tidy here, and we're going to lift this up. I'm going to scrape all of the stuff into the bowl, and we're going to show you the consistency we're looking for. So make sure, whoop, losing it on the floor. Maybe I should do this with my fingers. There we go, my hands are clean, so we're safe. So just get all that stuff out. Don't lose any of it on the floor like I just lost probably a half a cookie's worth. Because trust me, you're going to want every cookie you have here. These are going to go over really well. Again, this is a really nice one if you do the recipe. This recipe with the pound of butter and 1 1/3 cup of, what did I say here? 1 1/3 cup of cornstarch, 1 1/3 cup of icing sugar, and 2 3/4 cups of flour. This will make enough to be able to do cookie exchange and still have some left over for yourself. So you can see this is coming when I pull this without really like scraping per se. It's just coming, it's kind of coming aside from the bowl. So that's kind of what we're looking for. We know that we've got a good mix. And then when you pull some out, I'm going to show you here. It looks a little crumbly, but when you press it together, do a quick roll just to show you it's nice and smooth. So it'll come apart like this, but it's not going to fall apart. So that's the consistency we're looking for. I'm going to get a little quick tidy up here. I'm going to get the pans out and show you about the size that I do. This is the part I missed on the video last year, so I'll get set up and we'll come back. Alrighty, so I'm back. So I have a big cookie sheet. My husband bought me 2 of these last year for Christmas, so this will actually fit what you can fit in a normal cookie sheet is about 12, so this should be able to fit 2 dozen cookies. You can roll them, but I'm going to just scrape us against the side of the bowl and do these in a dome shape. So let me just show you what I'm doing here. So hopefully you can see that all right. Taking the scoop, pressing it against the side of the bowl there. Hopefully you can see that all right. And then I'm just going to place these down. So I'm going to try to do at least 2 dozen of these and just continue doing. I'll even show you if you can see a little better. Take it, you're going to pack it tight, scrape it against the side of the bowl, put them down. Now, these will not spread out very far. If you want to roll in the ball, you can do that. The bottom will flatten out, but by doing this, we're gonna get a bit of a dome shape, and we're gonna have a flat bottom anyhow, which is basically what happens when you do these by rolling them by hand. You're gonna end up with basically the same product. So I'm gonna do about probably 5 across and 6 or 7 down. So we'll see how many cookies we get on here. So I'm gonna continue with this. This is gonna make quite a few. I'll get the 2 pans ready, and we'll pop them in the oven now. This is the point you want to preheat your oven 300 degrees. So do that, and we'll go on from there. Okay, so I ended up with, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 dozen. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm gonna pop these in my oven at 300 degrees on the 2 middle racks, and the recipe says 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm gonna check these after 10. I think they usually go 10 to 12, I think is what I cook them, but it could take the whole 15. So I'm gonna let that go. I'll put the timer on right now. 10 minutes, and we're gonna come back and check them at 10 minutes. The bottom needs to be slightly golden, and I'll show you what that looks like when they're ready. Now, if they're not done quite at 10 minutes, we'll put them on for a couple more and go in 2-minute segments until it's done. Okay, so the timer just went off for 10 minutes. I'm gonna pull these out. I should turn that timer off. I'm gonna pull these out real quick and take a look. Now, it can be hard to tell, but I can see from the edge that there's no golden around there at all. So I'm gonna put these in for, and I think they're a little bit bigger than I normally do. So I'm gonna put them in for 3 more minutes, so that'll move this up to 13. I'm also actually going to move the trays around so we get a more even bake on these. So top on the bottom, bottom on the top, and I'm gonna pop them in for 3 more minutes. And we'll come back after 3 more minutes and see what we have. Okay, timer has gone again on these after 3 minutes. This is 13 minutes total. We're gonna pull these out. Take a look. They look nice from the top. They look a little more done. So what I want to do, I'm going to leave the other ones in there for a second or 2. I just want to lift one up. These are very soft. And see the bottom there? It has a tiny bit of gold, but I still don't think it's quite ready. I'm going to leave these in for 2 more minutes. So these ones look like they took a whole 15 minutes. Also, this is a different pan than I used last year. You can use parchment paper, which is what I did. I prefer that. You can also use a Silpat if you have that. And if you don't, just use a non-stick pan. And I mean, you could spray a little bit of cooking spray or put a little bit of butter on it. But I think if you do that, you're going to end up with the bottoms too brown. I think just doing it on a non-stick cookie sheet plain will work as well, because there's enough butter in it to create a barrier so they shouldn't stick to the pan. So I'll come back in 2 more minutes. Okay, so 15 minutes these have baked. I'm going to show you here. This here is the bottoms. It's got a very light golden color on it. I hope you can see that. I'll move it in so you can see a little bit better. That is what we're looking for. So you'll notice on the top of these cookies here, this will be my tester one. It is kind of wrinkled looking on the top. It looks almost, oh, sorry, I forgot to turn the timer off there. Okay, wait till that paper's done. It looks almost like you've scooped some ice cream there. That's what the effect you're going to get with the scoop. If you don't want that and you want this completely smooth over the top, like the whole edge here over the top, roll them into a ball. They're going to come out the same way. So we'll turn that off and turn the oven off. So the nice thing about this recipe, I'm going to show you, I'm going to let these cool on the pan for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to get and show you the actual recipe itself. Okay, so this is the recipe here. It is shortbread. I wrote Carol's because I got this recipe from somebody that I used to be friends with. Fortunately not anymore, but thank you for the recipe, because honestly, this has turned into my favorite cookie. So this is 1/2 cup of, now I did for a pound of butter, and I'll show you that conversion on the back of this. 350 degrees, you'll see in the top right corner, so preheat. 1/2 cup of cornstarch, 1/2 cup of icing sugar, 1 cup of flour, just all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup of butter softened. So you're going to mix the butter till it's soft, add the ingredients a bit at a time until it's smooth, roll into 1-inch balls, or you can do it, like I said, with a small cookie scoop if you don't mind that, this little look on the top here. Get a little bit better look, and this is better lighting too, so you can see the bottom, that tiny golden. That's it. You don't want them any more golden than that. So you're going to do that. These ones with the 1-inch scoop, I cooked for 15 minutes total, and that turned out perfect. Now, if you want to do a bigger recipe, if you're using 1 pound of butter, again, 300 degrees, 1 1/3 cup of cornstarch, 1 1/3 icing sugar, 1 pound of butter, 2 3/4 cups of flour, and just follow the same ingredients, or sorry, the same instructions, and that's the recipe. So I'm gonna let these cool in the pan for 5 or 10 minutes, and yeah, you can see, oh, I forgot to take the other ones out. I'm gonna get those out, and yeah, I'll let them cool for about 5 minutes and get them off the pan. Okay, so these are all done. I'll give you a little bit of a close-up here. I'll just bring the camera over. You can see these are all done and cooled. And like I said, these ones look like they were an ice cream scoop one, and that's fine by me. If you want to make a little variation, make them a little bit more Christmassy, before you bake them, you can add on some pieces of little cherries, green and red, the glacé cherries, you can do those. You could also put on a chocolate chip, but I would wait till they first come out of the oven. When they're completely baked, pop it in while it's still warm. Do a Christmas kiss on there, like a little candy kiss. Some sprinkles. I personally like them plain, but feel free to decorate them up. You could also drizzle them when they're completely cool. You could drizzle these over with like a little fine lines of chocolate, dip them in half chocolate. My sister said I think that's what she's planning on doing, so she's going to use this recipe. So what I want to show you, this is the one that I had on the glove, so this is kind of my test. So basically, there's our cookie there, and I'm going to break it in half. It's crumbly. You can see the center is nice and dry, and that is exactly what we're looking for. So I'm going to test this out. That's perfect. Nice and crumbly, super buttery. Is a tiny bit warm still, but I couldn't wait to try it. So I hope you try this recipe. Again, I do have my old recipe online. Yeah, I messed up that video before, so I wasn't going to post a new one, but because I actually missed some of the taping last year and messed up somehow, I decided to put this out. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. Merry Christmas. Be sure to subscribe. I do hope that you share this with your friends. Try the recipe. Let me know if you did any variations and what you think of it. And have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you again soon. I'll have some new recipes coming up soon. Take care.